All set.
I'd like to call this meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we start with our agenda, I was just handed this from the Gardner News. It's a statement that came out this afternoon from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Public Health, so I want to read this.
Yeah, how's that?
Did everybody hear what I said the first time?
Before we start with the agenda,
The Gardner News just handed me this. It came out a couple hours ago from the State Department of Public Health, so I want to just read the beginning of this. It's about Triple E. So, on Monday, September 10th, 2012, the Massachusetts Department of Public Health today announced a third human case of EEE in a Massachusetts resident. The patient, a female under the age of 18, was diagnosed in early September and is currently hospitalized. Based on this finding, the Triple E threat level has been raised in several towns in Franklin County and Worcester County. The Triple E threat level has been raised to critical in Athol, Orange, and Royalston, and to high in Irving, Petersham, Phillipston, Templeton, Warwick, Wendell, and Winchendon. So, obviously, this case must be in this area somewhere. Communities which have been designated as either critical or high risk of EEE are urged to cancel all planned evening outdoor events for the remainder of the season until the first hard frost. So we will contact the school department tomorrow and talk to them about this as well. If anybody wants to read the whole article afterwards, it's up here. You can take a look at it. It's 3 pages long. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but that's the important part of it. Triple E has been obviously found somewhere in this area. Okay. First on the agenda, before we introduce our new town council, we have the acceptance of several minutes. If we can go through those real quick. We'll start with April 23rd.
Oh, okay. Move to accept the minutes of April 23rd, 2012.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none. Julie?
Abstain.
Virginia?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Okay, minutes from May 2nd, 2012.
Move to accept the minutes from May 2nd, 2012.
Second.
Any discussion? So none. Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Julie?
Abstain.
And yes. May 22nd, 2012.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from May 22nd, 2012.
Second?
Any discussion? Corrections, errors, omissions? Seeing or hearing none. Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
June 4th,
I make-
2012.
I make a motion to accept the minutes for June 4th, 2012.
Second?
Any discussions, errors, or omissions?
On the last page, the statement starts, Joe Boyd mentioned that he has not received the executive session minutes of June 11th, 2012. I think it should be April 11th, since this is the June 4th meeting.
Right.
Okay. Joe Boyd, it should be April 11th, 2012. those executive session minutes.
Okay.
All right, so with the correction made, any other corrections? Okay, Pat?
Abstain.
Julie?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Okay, July 9th.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from July 9th, 2012.
Second?
Any discussions, errors, omissions? Hearing and seeing none. Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
August 27th, 2012.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from August 27th, 2012.
Second?
Any discussion, errors, omissions?
On the third page, discussion on water breaks in town.
Yep.
It said, Mr. Stewart said that he received a breakdown from John Driscoll, and that maybe the board could look it over. We could come back at the next Board of Selectmen meeting to discuss further, and the board agreed. That'll come up later.
Anything else? Okay, Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
And last but not least, August 31st.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from August 31st, 2012.
Second?
Any discussion on this one? Julie?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
And Pat?
Yes.
Okay, at this time, we'd like to have our new town council come forward, and we'll let them all introduce themselves. We'll give them a mic. This is a working mic inside here. The other ones are for the TV.
And there's some, please have a seat, don't just stand around. Make yourself comfortable.
Just sit down.
Point back to you a little bit, I apologize.
That's okay.
It's
All
fine.
right.
Hi, I'm Paul Lorensis, and I brought 3 lawyers from my office. We have more lawyers who'd like to come if they have other commitments coming. I want to tell you a little bit about ourselves. First and most importantly, we bring fresh eyes. We have no history with the town, so that we have no signs. We've not been a warrior in past wars. We're fresh. We have the ability to look at issues without regard to the political history, who did what, all of these things. I'm in the process of reviewing the files, and I see the battlefields, and I've seen the casualties that have happened in the past. I'm aware of them, but we're not going to relive them. We're going to move on. We bring independent, fresh, correct, nonpartisan answers to the questions that people have. The transition has been going on for a month now. We received all the files. I've gone through most of the files. I'm down to 3 sub-files left to look at. I've gone through most of the bylaws. We have met a number of the relevant people in town. We want to meet more. I spent a day touring the town, going from one side to the other, looking at municipal facilities, looking at your streets, your infrastructure, your power grid, everything I could see. Tell you a little bit about myself. I've been representing municipal governments for 31 years. I've been recognized as one of 13 super lawyers in the 6-state New England region. That is, out of 6 states, there were 13 lawyers who were recognized. I'm one of them. I'm sort of the dean of the town council bar. I've seen it all. There's nothing that you could say or tell me about that I haven't seen already somewhere. This is also a familiar setting for me because I've been a selectman for 17 years. I've also been a member of a planning board. I've been a member of a finance committee or advisory committee. I have run search committees for town administrators, police chiefs, fire chiefs, all of that. I am a member of the Massachusetts Municipal Association. I'm on the executive committee of the Massachusetts Municipal Association. I've been president of the Massachusetts Selectmen's Association, which job I have to represent 1,180 selectmen, including the Templeton Selectmen for years. You didn't know that at the time, but I have been looking out for all selectmen statewide, and still am doing it. I'm an advisor to Governor Patrick on local affairs. We meet with the governor or the lieutenant governor or his staff at least once a month to address issues affecting municipalities. We're here to help. We want to help. We want to do everything we can to make Templeton as best as we can do. I brought here some of the skilled lawyers who are available to you. As I say, there are more back in the office, but let me turn the microphone over to them and let them tell you a little bit about themselves. Kim?
It's right near that.
It's right near the end.
It's like a Geiger counter.
Does that say he spoke too long?
I'm not used to talking in the microphone. I have a courtroom voice. I'm a litigator. I'm working on my 27th year as a litigator. I started out in private practice where I worked for approximately 6 years. Then I began work as assistant corporation counsel for the city of Boston, where I worked for several years, and then I met Paul. I moved to George Williams, where I've been for an eternity, but actually 17 years. My best caution I can tell you is the less you see of me, the better off you are. I represent all kinds of boards, everything from boards of selectmen, county commissioners, boards of health, planning boards, conservation commissions. Anyone who's employed by a town is a potential client of mine, and I do not lose. So if you do see me, you'll be happy. I'm here to answer your questions. I know we're going to have a policy of going through certain boards for legal advice, but I assure you, when you talk with me, you will be well represented, as all of my clients have been in the past. If you want to know a little bit about me, more about me personally, Google me. First name Kim, last name Salant, SAILLANT at DW Boston. Check out our website. You'll learn a lot about the lawyers there. There's several more of us. We'd be happy to help you. I'm handing it to Rob. There you go.
Good evening. I'm Rod Hoffman. I'm a business lawyer on one side and do some of the business side of municipal practice for our municipal clients. So it's contracting and sort of think of myself as a utility infielder. Ground balls come to me and sort of like, now what do I do with it? From what Paul said, in terms of there's nothing we haven't seen, I find that to be true. There are certain clients where I'm likely the first one to get the call, and it's sort of like, what do I do with this ball now? But I walk down the hall, and zoning, permitting, Rich knows, and litigation issues, and labor issues, and it's a good thing to have colleagues that you absolutely trust in terms of legal skill and judgment, which is an important part of municipal practice because we are the town. And that's more than just being a private party. There are public responsibilities that we as town council and the board of selectmen have that are different than a private party. And we are very sensitive to that. I think we do a good job keeping that in mind in all the advice. You know, we can win a case, but maybe we want to do something a little bit different because it works better for the community than blooding up and hoping battle or something like that. And so I enjoy the practice because of that, because we take the professional responsibility side of that very seriously. Thank you. This is Richard Hudson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rich Huxon. I've been practicing law for over 25 years, focusing my practice in land use and municipal law. I focus primarily on land use permitting, comprising all of the land use permitting officials and boards. I talk with them on a regular basis, try to take a proactive approach to prevent problems and therefore save the town money by preventing these boards and officials from getting into problems. I also often represent them during hearings, particularly on more complex matters, hearings that go longer, help them to draft their decisions regarding these usually more complex decisions that they have to make so that the decisions are more likely to be upheld. And again, this helps save the town money. Try to take a proactive approach always and provide the town with excellent legal advice. Thank you.
You can keep that down there. Thank you. Does anybody on the board want to speak, have questions? Jeff, you want to just go over the policy again on how to talk to legal?
Yes, sure. I'll just raise my voice. We have implemented a policy in town as to minimize confusion, crosstalk, etc. And there we go. There are exceptions, but the rule will be that when a town employee, department head has an issue for which they seek legal counsel, if the issue allows and if time permits, they cross my desk with a request, and I'm going to attempt to bundle those requests. For instance, with land use and permitting, Rick, there's going to be a lot of work for you in this town because there's a lot of issues. There's just we were talking about gravel permitting, but development issues, 40B issues, right-of-way issues, just a lot of land use and permitting issues in town. So I'd rather bundle those up and hand them to you all at once than have, one board come this way and an employee or department head come that way and create a lot of confusion. The goal is to find some efficiency in the way we use our legal resources. Not to not use them. I think you've heard that we have a pretty good stable of attorneys behind us here, but to make sure that when we approach them with some efficiency and with some intelligence so that we don't waste your money and their time. And so that's the policy going forward. We'll see how well it works, but so far it's been running pretty smoothly.
Anybody else on the board have questions or want to make a statement? Anybody in the audience? Yes.
My name is Beverly Bartolomeo. We have gone through an incredibly hard time in this town, and we welcome you with open arms. We have a lot of faith in Mr. Ritter, and it couldn't have come at a better time. Actually, it could have, like a year ago, 10 years ago. We are at where we're at, and we have to rebuild our town. It's going to take a lot of work, And we need, the armed forces used to say, give us your best and your brightest. That's what I want, the best and the brightest out of you. We can't afford to go backward, and we can't afford to lose anymore. So you are welcome. If you ever need help, there's a room full of people who will be standing right behind you. I want you to know that. Okay?
Thank you, Beth. Anybody else want to make a comment or have a question? No? I thank you all for coming. It's nice to meet you all. I know you'll mostly be dealing with Mr. Ritter in the office. So, but it's nice to see faces and get to know you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Nobody asked the question.
You should say it.
I can have the mic.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I want to say something. I had this all set up. I was waiting for the audience to ask the question, really. I wanted somebody to stick their hand up. I'd already set this up. How much is this costing the town to keep have all these parking? The answer is not a dime.
I didn't hear what you said, Jeff. Just a pleasure.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
All right, all set. Well, you're up. You're early, but you're up.
I'm up, huh?
It's very interesting because earlier today, I wasn't sure on how I was going to end up beginning my presentation as far as talking about the financial policies. Except I went to a regional conference today, and I heard some wonderful things about almost the same thing I said to the board 2 weeks ago. Cooperation, collaboration, goal setting, policies, and procedures. I heard that time and time again from individuals that I talked to and from the presentations I heard today. All that being said, we were here the last time, we presented to you our vision, our mission, our goals, the timesheet that is going to be implemented, and with a lot of pain, the goals and objectives and recommendations to the select board. We had a lot of input from citizens of the community. And as I said before, I believe in transparency. I believe in feedback from the community and implementing those things that we hear from the community. And a lot of the things that we presented at our last meeting was quite a bit of input on that. With that being said, I gave you the financial policy that the board has adopted unanimously. I only come before you because that is the town financial policy from the advisory board. We only look for the select board to end up adopting this also. And as I prefaced earlier, cooperation and collaboration. I believe in collaborating. I believe that you make a much stronger position to the community as far as where we're going to go with our finances if the board adopts that. That being said,
because one of the other things I was going to end up saying is that this is also the right thing to do, is to come before the board. This is actually the third time that in 3 months that I've come before the select board. In the short 3 months that I've been as the chairman. I don't know how you want to end up approaching this, if you want to end up discussing it further, having me go and read each of the items, or have somebody read the items. We've passed out the financial policies to the audience here, but I'll wait for the board to end up letting me know how they want to proceed.
Well, we've all had a chance to read these, so I think it might be wise if we have questions about certain sections.
By the way, none of this is different from any other community that has good financial policies.
Okay. Anybody have a question?
Yes, Virginia.
Under debt policy, on the second page, enterprise fund debt not to exceed 20% of enterprise operating revenues. I'm not sure how that relates with the amount of enterprise fund debt that the town pays already.
That we currently have.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to get good debt schedules. So-
This is on the revenue policy, or?
This is the debt policy on the second
About
page,
the debt?
3B.
We don't have a lot of
Okay,
information
I'm looking
about
at page 2. You're way,
debt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
okay, all the way back to the bottom. Yes, okay. We realize that in some cases, we're not there. But if we don't have a policy to address issues such as this, we're not going to make it financially as a community. We will struggle from year to year, if not from month to month. This was actually, I looked at a number of other communities, talked to a number of other communities, and this was the best of practices from other communities. This is where they're at. I looked at communities that have money in the bank, even during this difficult financial time, so that they could end up addressing the fact that they didn't have the revenues coming in, and said, if they can do it, so can we. Will it take time? Yes, it will. Can we drive that as the advisory board and select board? Yes, we can. But there just has to be a willingness to take it, end up heading in that direction, and try to take it, end up reaching that as within the policy.
Julie?
My question when I reread this and I thought about it, I understand where you're coming from, that we're trying to model ourselves after communities that have good financial stability right now in these difficult economic times. We don't have that, and we haven't had that for a number of years, especially when we look at free cash. To take 20% of free cash and not use any of our free cash for balancing our budget, that's like going cold turkey.
That's my
And
next comment.
Me too.
I agree wholeheartedly that we should try to attain these goals, but I think it needs to be phased in.
Absolutely.
We're not, let me be very clear on this. When the board looked at this, we didn't say, this is going to happen overnight. We realized that I'd like $1 million in our stabilization fund. I mean, all of us would. But the reality is, it's going to take a few years for us to get there. I mean, we're going to end up looking at stabilization fund over a period of time. We may not even get to the 7%. We may be able to only get 2 or 3%. But if we don't have a goal, an objective to aim for, we will never end up having a stabilization fund. As we went, and you're well aware of, we went through a process during town meeting where we had only $1,700 in the stabilization fund, and not the ability to even pay for 2 particular items that said that the money would come from stabilization. That was the lease on the cemetery truck, and also for the police department vehicle. That's $25,000 we didn't have. If we don't actually end up doing something about that, we will never get to where we need to be. That's really the bottom line to the entire policy. And the advisory board understands that, per se.
Yeah, I think, it's funny, because I think all 3 of us had that same concern about the 20% free cash, because I had a note written next to it myself. That's something that's not going to happen overnight, as you just said.
That's correct.
And a lot of this will probably take a couple of years
Yes.
anyway.
Yeah.
To get it implemented. So, Virginia.
I agree, and I agree wholeheartedly in what you're saying. But if we're going to adopt it with you, then we need to be careful that the language, once we make it God's word here, that the language doesn't say we will not. We'll try not to.
Yeah.
But the language has to be fixed so that we're not committing ourselves to something that we can't do.
Well, one of the interesting things I heard today was from one of the panelists basically talking about, and this was concerning the school budget, the mandates that come down, and the ability or inability for the community to follow mandates within schools or any mandates that the state has. You're the executive branch of this government. You have the ability to end up making that happen or saying we can't make it happen at this time.
I would like to make a comment. But I believe I share Virginia's feelings that we have personnel policies and bylaws that we don't follow and are unworkable and are in conflict. We have bylaws on the books that we don't follow. I don't want to adopt another policy that I know we're not going to be able to follow. So I would prefer, and that's why we're having this discussion, to change the language. We know what the goal is, okay? The goals are laudable, and I agree with the goals. But to say will not, shall maintain a stabilization fund at least at a level of 4 to 7%. I don't think we can do that next year, and the word is shall, okay? So I don't want to adopt a policy that I know right now I can't, I know I'm not going to be able to do that. I know right off the bat, and I think you do as well. Will not spend, okay, will not, that's exactly what it says. I think it needs to be phased in, and I agree with the goal. I don't think there's any dispute among any of us with the goal. But as a board member, I'm tired of looking at policies and procedures and rules and regulations that we don't follow and don't enforce, and I don't want to have another policy that we're not going to enforce or follow.
All kinds of hands. We'll start with Doug.
I would recommend that rather than softening the language of the policy, because I agree the goals are good, we all understand the goals, that we should perhaps just add at the beginning that over the next 3 years, or in 3 years or 5 years, this is our goal or our achievement. And then after that point, if we're not able to do it, at town meeting, the select board or the advisory board should be able to explain to the townspeople why we weren't able to do this particular year. But we all go in with the understanding that it's going to take 3 to 5 years to get here. But at least that gives us, and leave the language as is, because if we change the language and make it too soft, and make it easy to just say, oh, well, we don't have to worry about that, then we're not helping any of ourselves.
Yes.
Even Steve Lee's Dublin Board of Assessors I have one issue on under revenue policy. Number 2, the town will maintain property assessed at a full and fair market value.
I don't have it.
I've been on
only got half.
the Board of Assessment going on 10 years now, and we follow the state's rules on a fair market value on assessing properties. And as long as I've been an assessor, the state maintains that we be within 90 and 110% of fair market value. But the point I'm putting across is the town has nothing to say about that. So I can't understand, maybe you can correct me if I'm not reading this right, but why would the town has nothing to do with assessing property value.
First of all,
That might have to be
the
changed.
copies that we all had tonight in our book only have like pages 1 and 3, we don't have page 2, so we don't have that page. I have mine from last week, so I still have it.
It's on the back of the front page.
Right, but on the copies in our book, it's not there.
I just thought I'd point that out.
I have mine from last week, so I do have it.
That's the only issue I have. Thank you much.
Thank you.
That was under revenue policy, correct? Steve, that was under revenue policy?
Yeah, under revenue policy. Number 2. On the back of the first page.
Yep, number 2, got it.
The town will maintain property assessment at full and fair market value. I just don't think that should be in there because they haven't got nothing to say about it anyway.
Let me say this, we know that, the board did know that we are under the state as far as fair market value. That's just reiterating what we already know that our assessors end up providing us.
Bev?
I would rather have a goal than no goal, and I understand what Julie means. I think we can get the same result if we word it different, and you know that the advisory board, working with all the boards in town, are not going to roll over and play games. That when there is enough money, that we could put some aside to be put aside. So maybe we should change it, or what Doug said is slide it forward, because there's no way on this earth we're going to have money until 2015.
Yeah, I don't want to put us at, a spot and say by X date we're going to do this until we know we can.
Yep.
I think I'd rather go with Julie's idea and change the wording a little bit. And then, we can always change it and put a date in once we know we can attain the date.
But there is still always an underlying goal.
Yep, absolutely.
And everybody's going to know that well. You guys on the advisory board are doing a really good job, and you'll have the facts way before town meeting. You're not going to be doing it the night before, trying to dig us out of a hole. So as an ongoing process, I think that the theory is great. Maybe we're going to just change the way we get there.
Yes.
I think Beverly and this other gentleman in blue shirt are correct. These guys have done a really good job coming up with these goals. You have to set the goals, and they have to be high goals. And I think what the board generally suggesting is that, well, someday we'll get there. No, someday never comes. You have to set those goals, and we have to do our best to achieve it. And I wouldn't soften the language at all. So maybe Steve's comment about the tax system evaluation. I'm sure that this document could use a little fine tuning, but we need to set those goals and do our best to get there. And it's going to, as far as going cold turkey, sometimes that's the best way to go. Okay, we might have to go turkey and do without some things, just like we have to do without some of the school budget. Okay, we have to do without our means. We have to try to achieve financial stability. It's going to be painful.
Yeah, and we did that, I think, this year at town meeting. We cut some things out, cold turkey, and there's only so much we can cut cold turkey without really affecting the town.
I don't think cold turkey, maybe move the move things forward further and have that same idea, but soften it a little bit so everybody's got wiggle room. Because you know what? There is no place to cut anything.
I prefer to say chip away at it.
All right, anyway,
Okay.
yeah, I don't care how you put it, but I understand what Julie's saying, and I know what you're trying to do, so we just kind of have to.
Yes.
So let's consider this the ideal.
Yep.
The end game. Is there a way to put in reasonable numbers to achieve for next year? And next year, you up the ante a little bit. So we get to this ideal. So instead of 20%, no more than 20% of free cash flow.
Right.
That next year is more than 5%.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I just think it's, right now, it's way too early to know what numbers are going to be like for next year, but...
Let me just say one other thing.
Sure.
This is not cast in stone, per se, okay? I mean, it's not to the point where the advisory board is going to come back, and if we can't get to these particular goals in this next year, is come back and get on the select board and say, and also tell the community, shame on you for doing what you did. We're being reasonable about this, but as Mr. Jelinuski said, and I mean, if you don't set a goal that's really out there, you will never attain even portions of that goal. So what that wording basically says is that that's where we should be headed. That didn't say we're going to do it next year in that policy. It didn't say we're going to do it in year 2, or whether that's going to be in year 5. That says that's the policy. Now, if next year we end up looking at this as an advisory board, if I'm still on it, because my term is only 1 year, and I have to be appointed again, it will probably be reviewed again. But if we don't put this out there, it won't be even shot at. We won't have an attempt to even get there.
Doug had his hand up, and then in the back, and then Virginia.
I would just, again, if you put in there that we're going to, reach this goal in 3 or 5 years, whatever you decide, and you put in there that if we don't achieve this goal, we will explain at town meeting why. As long as the explanation is something that's reasonable to the townspeople, I don't think anybody would, hang anybody because we didn't reach the goal. I mean, as long as we have accountability as to why we didn't reach the goal, and it wasn't for something, frivolous, and, build a town hall we can afford, I think, I don't really see the problem.
In the back.
I don't see why the select board and the advisory board and the accountant can't get together and work on this and put the schedule together, whether it's 5 years, 10 years. You need to have a big goal somewhere. You can't, you'll never get there. You can't have we'll try, it's never going to happen. 1 year, it could be 1%, second year 2%, and why didn't you get there?
Okay.
Because you need goals, and they've got to be tough to get to, or they're useless.
Virginia.
I would like for this to be a policy of all of us, not just the finance boards. I would be more comfortable if there were a sentence at the end of the introduction part that said, the following are goals that we hope to achieve over the course of the next 5 years. They will be used as a guideline and the progress will be reported to the townspeople annually. That would not hold us to 7% right away or 20% right away, but will hold us to be reporting it back to the townspeople.
Well, we should be able to report to the town that we have a goal of, as an example, 20% for as far as using the free cash. We can say that was our goal, We weren't able to attain that this year, but we were able to end up, instead of 20%, from previous years we were doing 0. This year here we have at least 10%. I'll tell you, I as a taxpayer would like us basically to take and say that, than to say, well, geez, let's soften it and let's say, come out in 5 years to take it end up. It will end up from year to year show progress. If we come back to the community at the annual town meeting and saying, we set a goal for 20%, it was not attainable this particular year. We have 20, we can only end up getting to 80%. Next year, we hope to take it, end up reducing that to even less.
And I agree, but if we leave the language that's here now, and we say that we're going to adopt this with you, we're going to hold ourselves to the town will not balance the budget by using free cash or revenues funding on ongoing expenditures. No more than 20% of free cash at one time on revenue items. We can't say we will do that. We will make it our goal to do that. But like Julie said, we can't keep making policies that are unattainable. We just...
Mr. Bishop.
Yeah, well, first of all, correct from law, Will's the advisory board, so he's advising the selectmen at will to make any policy change or correction of date or omission of please, right? Okay, second of all, yeah, I'm all for long-term planning, like the planning board's been spending their entire budget for years on the master plan, and we got sliced and diced this year. So, to practice what we preach, that's one thing that the planning board has been doing for years, where everybody seems to forget about it or don't think it's that important, but where we go for a next round of grants or something like that and find out that and I know, well, I mean, not personal, of course, but I know you question the fact, look at the planning board, they have all this money left in the year, they don't need it. Did you ever stop and think that we're probably the most security department in this whole town, we wait till the end of the year, and we free fund the following year's plan. So we're actually working a year ahead of time until now. So I just want to put that out there, so don't say there's no long-term planning been going on, there's no one's been paying attention, but right now, you know, the long-term plan we had going, get our legs kicked off from under us. So I just want that to go on the record as far as, you're not the only one that's thinking long-term, but right now, we have an unfunded long-term plan, and that's a town-wide master plan, don't take that lightly.
And the advisory board realizes that, correct, is that there are some departments that have goals that they were not attainable because of budgetary issues. There are other departments that don't have any goals at all. I sat here 2 weeks ago and suggested to every board to end up having goals for this year. I'm not sure that the select board has even set goals for next year. Any goals?
We're working on it. We have a working document.
Well, I want to think and end up pushing this particular fact. In 3 short months, your advisory board only met 2 times a month. We came up with a vision, a mission, a goal, a timesheet, and goals to you, and a financial policy, while handling other business besides.
Yeah.
You know what, I think that you ought to take this and take it under advisement, so you guys all can look at it, decide what you really think we can do, and then at the next meeting, you'll have more of a set in your head and more reality as to where we could possibly be. Well, it isn't personal. And I know how hard you work, and I know how hard you want things to straighten out. But it's going to be a long, hard climb, and I don't think most of the people in this room really understand what bad shape we're in. So it's 50 of one and a half a dozen of the other. You know, you You gotta do the best you can. I think it's great to have goals, but don't set one up that you can't make.
Rich?
Yeah, by adopting this, as it sits right now, this is adopting policy. This is not adopting a goal.
That's right.
If you adopt this, we are held to the letter of what it says.
Right.
That's our concern.
So you can't do this until we can financially do what it's saying to do.
Right.
Will, does anybody at the selectman's office have this on their computer? Have you emailed this to anybody, or is this just on your computer?
Well, we were planning on actually putting that on the website after talking with individuals. As we have said to you previously, our goals, our missions, everything has gone up on the website, the town website. So, I mean,
can you just email it to either Nancy or Jeff?
Yep.
So they can email it to all of us, and then we can work on it on our computer and then come up with a revised to show you.
Well, we would really like to take it in depth. If that's the case, as you saw, I had my whole board here.
Yep.
I invite the select board to come to our meeting as a whole to present their ideas. Not only do I look for them, but I look for you to come as a joint board with all your ideas and that you have agreed on those ideas and not necessarily get input from 4 people or 5 people.
That's a violation of the meeting.
Yes.
Will is 100% right. Meaning no disrespect to the board, but I keep hearing, we can't. I think you're worried about the taxpayers keeping your feet to the fire. If you don't agree with what's being proposed by the committee, I suggest we work at those numbers and tell us what you can do. You're the executive board. Nobody on the country here to run for this office. Frankly, I wouldn't do it, okay? But you need to make a counter proposal. If you don't like 20% or 6%, whatever it is, propose a number that you can beat, and then report to the town at periodic times how you've done against that. Those goals you can do because they'll be your goals.
I don't think it's necessarily the numbers, it's just the wording of this whole document. And like Rich said, if we voted this right now, this is a policy, it's not an option.
Well, take it under advisement.
So that's why,
you don't have to make a decision now.
right, that's why we want to get the copy so we can, really, I don't think we're going to change numbers much, we'll just reword it to our benefit.
He made a statement up back, that's a policy. We just had some attorneys here. Is he an attorney?
The way this is written, this would be a policy.
You're an attorney. Any one of you, you're not an attorney.
We don't have to be.
Attorney there neither.
Yes.
It's policy.
Has the town accountant reviewed this?
Probably, I don't think the town accountant is aware of this form, is he? No, okay. So, yeah, no, he hasn't even seen it yet.
I did, in speaking with him at one particular point, I did point out that we were working on financial policies, and I did run some paperwork by him briefly. I didn't expect him to end up looking at it since he was just coming on board.
Okay.
One of the things that we were looking on actually doing is that we have some other documentation that we were actually going to, once the advisory board has gone through documentation, we were going to send it out to all the boards and committees, especially for the year-end revenue, the emergency fund, as well as the end-of-year transfers, so that people could end up going to the website. So we're very open to the fact that we need to take and communicate and having discussions. I truly believe that the only way government moves ahead is through discussions on what needs to be done and some level of sense has put to the document. That's why I said we came here, and we're not saying that we're going to hold everybody's feet to the fire here.
Anybody else?
I think there's a question in back.
Oh, Bob?
Yeah, I think there are certain parts of this policy that need to be implemented right away, and other parts you might, revise. Under the debt policy, that item number 1 may have saved us from the 262 Baldwin Road bulldozer.
I think there ought to be a little discussion about how we want to get rid of that movie logo now that we own it.
Anybody else? Anybody on the board?
I'll make a motion that we take the financial policies under advisement. We're going to get the electronic version
Yes.
from you, so we'll have the whole thing. And that we, at our next meeting on the 24th,
Yep.
that we actually adopt a financial policy, because I do believe it is important to adopt a financial policy.
And can we, when we get the electronic copy, can we make sure the accountant gets one?
Sure. So we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Not fast. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Patrick?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Will.
Thank you.
Okay, discuss and act on United Nations proclamation. We have a letter here from Richard Golov, the president of the UNAGB. This says, that's United Nations Association of Greater Boston, for people that need to know. The letter says, every day the United Nations and its family of agencies work to improve people's lives throughout the world through peace building, environmental sustainability, emergency relief, human rights, and global health work. We invite you to join us this year in recognizing the important work of the UN on October 24th, 2012, the 67th anniversary of the United Nations. Since 1947, every U.S. president, beginning with Harry Truman, has issued a proclamation asking citizens to observe this special occasion. This year's celebration focuses on the topic, the United Nations, Solutions for a Prosperous World. We hope you will recognize October 24th, 2012 as United Nations Day and ask other interested individuals, groups, or schools in your community to participate in UN Day activities. And then to go on, it says, to mark this day, we encourage you to issue a UN Day proclamation, a sample is enclosed, fly the United Nations flag.
Oh, do we even have a UN flag?
We don't have one.
Okay.
The school does, we don't.
Encourage educators to conduct model UN simulations. Encourage libraries to show displays of the United Nations. We will feature all the proclamations that we receive at Boston's City Hall and the Massachusetts State House during our UN Day public events. The proclamations will also be on display at our annual UN Day luncheon on Monday, October 29th in downtown Boston, where more than 250 businesses and community leaders will gather to recognize the importance of global engagement. Please let us know if you are interested in attending any of these events. So, I guess what we're looking for is a motion to accept, be part of UN Day on October 24th, if we so choose. Then we can, I mean, not necessarily that we will go, but we can still be a part of it. We can ask the school to hang the UN flag that day if they have one.
Maybe you could proclaim it UN Day in Templeton for the day.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for the motion for, actually.
Okay. Move that we participate in the UN, what do they call it, Appreciation Day? Proclamation Day, by sending in our proclamation, flying the flag that the school